We're all looking for those leaders in the community that make a difference and those that are contributing too. We're talking about some of the great stuff Bob gets to do in the community and the organizations he works with, but the families, making a family business and helping those in our community. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to Your Little Castle Show. Again, I love what I get to do. We get to find those people who are making a difference, the ones that work in our community, that lead in our community, that are doing the work to... I like how our guest Bob here talks about family. Why is family so important? I'm jumping around here on you, but tell me, why is family such an important component for you?
I mean, it's just I was born and raised that way. You know, we sit down every Sunday, have Sunday family meals, and it's important to you can rely on when things go bad, and that's how we operate. So.
Makes sense. Yeah, I tell you, I've got some not a big family, but boy, I tell you, if it wasn't for my parents and my sister and people close to me, they're just it's inevitable you're going to go through some kind of a crisis, if you will, right? A lot of people know my story. I was hit by a drunk driver, was in a coma. You can see the scar, read the story. But like, boy, if I didn't have family there for me for that would have been
sure
tough to deal with. And just that positive influence of somebody there. They slept on the couch in the lobby at the hospital when that was going on. But you get that kind of support. It helps you just build the confidence and believe that there's something there for you. And when you're going through tough times, family there for you.
Right. Yeah, we try to do the same. We try to treat all of our customers like family. And whenever your house is torn apart, that's a tough time. So you need somebody you can rely on that's going to take care of it and take some of the burden off of your shoulders.
Yeah, nobody likes to have a house that's been disseminated, destroyed. I mean, we just had 2 tornadoes come here this last year. That's the first time I think it's happened before. I saw the stats, but it was like 20 years ago there were 2 tornadoes. But that doesn't happen very often. But the damage that was done there, I remember I was down in Florida for the Cardinal spring training for one of those, the first one I guess, and I said, Mom, where are you at? Grab your cell phone and get downstairs.
Right.
And she was going downstairs, but she didn't have her cell phone. But yeah, communication and keeping in touch with the family, very critical. With that, we talk a little bit about what was one of the mistakes, not being close to the family. What is one of the biggest mistakes you see that we talked about a little bit of the first half of the show, but I like you talked about when you see somebody trying to cover the deductible, there's more than something wrong with that. Again, it's a fraud because you can't do that according to the laws in Missouri. But why would somebody be hesitant when somebody says, "Oh, I'll cover your deductible"?
As far as why they'd be hesitant?
Yeah, what should be the hesitation you have if somebody's offering to cover your deductible?
Well, just thinking about where that money's coming from, right? Because our deductibles, they're not $500 anymore. They're anywhere from $1,500 to $10,000 we've seen. So if you're taking a $10,000 shortcut, that money has to come from somewhere. And that's everywhere from materials to are those guys going to be around next year if there's ever an issue? Or are they insured? If there's a bigger issue, it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and you talk about it when the insurance gets involved. Back to is that another mistake? Some people do want to try to take this on themselves, and they'll call the insurance company themselves and try to deal with it, and they're not the experts. It's like going to court without a lawyer.
100%. Yeah, no, you definitely want somebody representing you. We do it day in and day out. There's a certain format they want everything in, and just proof. We use a lot of systems to coordinate all of that.
Yeah, well, if you're not putting those systems in place, then who is? But that's why you trust the construction company that's got the experience. 20 years experience you bring to the table here, and you got a crew that's experienced those systems. I like you talk about it. We talked about it when I worked at AB. Bob Byrne, the head of MIS, he'd say, if you don't have everything systematized and standardized, then how are you making sure that the quality is there?
Right.
That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay. Residential and commercial, 95% residential, but if somebody has a commercial job, maybe a referral from somebody who did some residential work for me, you'll do some of that work?
Yeah, no, we can help you out on both fronts. So.
Okay. And which do you prefer? I guess residential is kind of where you get to build that family relationship stuff.
I enjoy residential because you're dealing with the homeowners and it's their house, so it's I don't want to say it's a little more important to them, but it's just it's just a little more important to them. So.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's where they live versus if you work, you're not going to stay there, sleep there, raise the kids there. But if you're home, that's where you want to make sure and tackle that and make sure it's properly run. Well, then tell me, with your experience, you must have a few times likely, where more than a few, where you had somebody who was in a tough situation, you really had to help them. Maybe another contractor didn't come through, or can you give me an example of somebody that was a tough situation, you helped them out?
Yeah, I mean, we've dealt with that a whole lot with this current storm, whether because people had their entire roofs removed. So just getting them tarps so that way they could not ruin the rest of their house or whatever it might be. We've also dealt with customers that, they need to sell the house for whatever particular reason. They need the money to provide care for a family member, and versus being 100% money involved. Like, we're there to we care about the individuals that we work with. So we, went out there, made it a priority, and worried about the money on the back end, and dealt with the closing when they sold the house, so that way they can take care of their relatives. Would be the biggest one I could think of.
Yeah, well, you're helping to cover the cost sometimes. You're saying, like, don't worry about the money. The money's not the most important thing. What you got to do to make sure is take care of the client.
Right.
And when they've got a good product, then figure out the money later.
Yeah, there's ways to figure out money. We can figure out the financing and everything else, but whenever your house is, if it's raining inside, you need to get it taken care of quicker and sooner.
And given your background a little bit, I know where you come from a little bit, but isn't it true? I think there was a book that talked about it, where it's like everything whatever you sow, you will reap 10 times that. I've just seen, the more I find myself going out trying to help people, it just kind of, the system works that way, that you come back.
Yeah, I firmly believe that.
It comes back around, and you've personally seen that within your business and your life, I would imagine.
100%.
Can you give me, why do you believe that's the case?
I just believe in, doing the right thing. I think if you help people, they're going to end up referring, and by doing the right thing by individuals, it's helped us tremendously grow as a business. We do very little advertising, everything else out there. It's strictly a word of mouth, and I think it's because we're doing the right thing by our customers.
Well said there. That's what small businesses count on, everybody, you can tell. But yeah, it just seems like that's the way the system works. I refer to that as a system. System created however you want to believe, a higher power, whatever. But bottom line is, when you take care of other people, things go your way.
Right.
And they're going to come back around. If you take advantage of somebody, there's a little thing called reputation, right? You start to earn that, and then you're going, wait a minute, what did they do? That isn't how this works.
Especially in St. Louis, it's a big, small town. Everybody knows everybody. So
yeah, and something that you definitely, it's a big, small town. What do you like most about working in a smaller community like St. Louis?
Just getting to know the people. Obviously, with St. Louis, everybody knows what high school you went to, and odds are you know somebody that knows somebody, and you can relate to people that you're working on or working with.
Yeah, and it's how often is it the case that when you're working with such small community, then you are in the middle of a situation where everybody does know everybody.
Right.
And then that's where that reputation comes around, because if you don't like what somebody said, then you're going to have a tough time getting that off your list there, because they're people that we all work and communicate with each other here in St. Louis. And St. Louis, they say, is the largest small town in the country, and that's something that you don't want to have to deal with. As a matter of challenges in life, can you tell me an example, or in business? I'm going through my coma, and I can tell you times in my business where I was like, man, how am I going to get through this? This guy didn't pay or whatever. Have you had a couple challenges that you've dealt with that help you understand and become stronger? Or what would you say some of the things you've learned by running a business?
It's not as easy as it looks. So,
I like that.
I think the biggest challenge on the roofing in particular, like I said, it kind of had a tarnished name, so it was an uphill battle just for people to gaining that trust, right? Because you're dealing with a lot of money. People most likely don't have to replace roofs, but once or twice maybe in St. Louis in their lifetime. So it's been an uphill battle, just gaining people's trust and trying to give them a positive experience versus the ones they've had in the past.
Yeah, why do you think that is in St. Louis? I mean, is there just so much opportunity for these fly-by-night companies to come in and say, we got you, right? And I've heard horror stories of somebody gave $6,000 payment down. This is a friend, and she talked, and this is actually on the other side of the river, but literally took the money and then never heard from them again. Sure. Why would a company do that? I mean,
I think unfortunately in St. Louis, the way it's set up right now, you don't have to be licensed to be on the roofing side. So it's more important than ever to know that person that you're giving that check to is a reputable company, because anybody can set up a company and say they're a roofer tomorrow. So that's the biggest thing you got to be careful about.
Yeah, is that you're chucking a truck? They literally throw a ladder in the back of their little truck, and then next thing they say, hey, let me get up on your roof. I can fix this for you. I can make this work.
Yeah, and then you never hear from them again. So,
so take time to research the companies that are coming to your door and see that they figure it out. I guess I could imagine, because over in Illinois they're supposed to be licensed. There's somebody that might come to your door and act like they're licensed, or unless you ask, how do you know if somebody's licensed?
Yeah, you don't know. That's because in Missouri you don't have to be. You
Yeah.
know, I'm a big advocate. I hope Missouri eventually changes that and they push for it because I think it's going to be great for the homeowner themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that it should be kind of instrumental. But the point being that unless you ask those questions and you know what to ask, you look at the reputation, look to see what they've done online. That's what we're trying to help small businesses again with everybody. Come in and sit down with us, and we'll talk about your business. We just had a little piece go out into the community, and I had all kinds of people. And some of these are very small businesses. We're going to give them a little shout out too, because it seems like if you've got a good quality business and you've done good work, then your reputation should follow, and that should be demonstrated. And that's where you do websites and good things about your business,
Sure.
so that people can learn about your company. And what do you think has changed here in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years? You've been doing this 20 years. What's the biggest industry shift you've seen?
I think the one that's forthcoming right now is just with the insurance. Traditionally, nobody replaced the roof until you waited for a hailstorm or whatever. But with the way the insurance is going, it's going to be more important than ever because deductibles are going up. You know, they're being more stringent because they've been hit with natural disasters left and right. They're, you know, a lot of it's being forced that way. So I think there's going to be a huge industry shift as far as getting something that's going to be a longer lasting and more durable roof versus in the past. Well, we'll put this on and in 10 years it's going to be replaced anyways because we'll get a hailstorm.
Yeah, that thought has gone through my own mind because I'm a matter of I've got a roof that's 12 years old, and the tornado came through in 2013. And I've had roofing guys come to the houses and they call you, hey, we're happen to be in the neighborhood. Can we do an inspection? And I'm like, I don't want to go through that process with the insurance company over and over again because eventually they're going to be like, enough. And that's what you're saying. Insurance companies are getting a little fed up with it.
They are. Yeah, they're really starting to dig their heels in the ground. And it's been, you know, they've sustained a lot of damage. So I think that's going to be the biggest trend in the industry. We're going to see, you know, you're not going to be able to get your roof replaced right away every time there's a hailstorm. So it's going to be more planning and making sure it could last several storms.
And that's where we talked about in the first show. That's where those more durable, you call it a
Class 4.
Class 4 roofing tile ceiling, or what's it, roofing shingle. That's more durable. And
Correct.
Could it be a matter of time you think that those might be the required standard because what roofing companies are?
I think it's going to save people money in the long run because if you have a $5,000 deductible, which I think we're going to see pretty average, you know, but it costs you $2,500 to upgrade to a better shingle. At that point, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? It's planning for the future a little bit, even if you're finance it, but then you don't ever have to deal with getting a roof on again. It's just a peace of mind and less nails in your tires and everything else.
Yeah, how often is it after they get done? They got those magnets now, and they go out and
Right.
suck up all of the nails that have come through when the roof was replaced. But yeah, just why wouldn't you want to have something that just is more durable, lasts longer? And the insurance companies, like I said, they give a little bit of incentive sometimes to do that.
They do, yeah.
And it makes it for a better product. Well, we were in the community for some other fun, and we're going to share a little bit of that with you here. But check out Will and his crew here. This is a former guest, was on our show, Mr. Fogarty, and not the guy who played the music, not the singer, but he's at the event supporting our community and sharing with Will Be Inspired. He recently had an event, but we were out at the golf tournament for that. Check this out. Hey everybody, it's John Fogarty.
Thank you.
You're a kind of a musician on the side, right?
Yeah, I'm going to sing a little bit later today, but not until after the golf.
Right. Summit, great organization. We love you guys. Great interview we had.
Yeah, we had a great time on the podcast.
That was fun, man. That aired on ABC about 6 months ago.
Yeah, probably 6 months ago. It's right fall, I think. So yeah, maybe a little more.
Well, you guys do good work. Tell me why you love this event here. You're supporting Will.
Yeah, so Will Be Inspired golf tournament. Veterans, first responders, 100% everything goes right back into it. So always support the best and try to take care of ours and take care of us. Thank you, guys.
That's awesome. There we go. All right, everybody. We'll be back for more. Giddy up.
His name is Carter Rethwich, but in St. Louis, he's known as the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a well-known fixture in the stands at sporting events in the Gateway City. He's one of its greatest cheerleaders, a super fan like no other. When he makes his rounds at almost every home game, he shares his love for sports with the rest of fandom with a smile, a cheer, some positive encouragement, and lots of selfies and pics. But the Cardinal Cowboy was born of a tragic incident. Rethwich was an aspiring athlete in high school and college. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues, but those dreams ended when he and 3 of his college friends were hit with a devastating crash by a 5-time drunk driver. One of his best friends died. Carter suffered a critical head injury. The trauma put him in a coma for 6 days. The doctors said he was never expected to function again. Those expectations never came true. He fought back and finished college. He was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Among other inspirations, it was his love of baseball that kept him going. And from his near-death experience, the Cardinal Cowboy emerged. His goal in life became to inspire others with positivity despite the odds, to help people believe in themselves and achieve their dreams.
So after my coma, I realized that it was up to me if I was going to accomplish my goals, if I was going to reach my dreams. Despite what the naysayers would say, the people that were discouraging me, like they do everyone, it's up to me if I'm going to make it. Don't listen to the naysayers. It's up to you. You decide whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to reach your goals. Dream, and then always, always chase your dreams. Never give up. Giddy up. Hey everybody, Cardinal Cowboy here. I want to invite all of you to be part of my new team. No, you don't have to put on a baseball uniform and be a super fan. Now, it would be a good idea to cheer for the Cardinals, the greatest team in the history of the National League. But I'm talking about the Gold Cowboy team. You know, I love to help people follow their dreams and reach their goals in business and in life. So that's one of the reasons why I'm telling you about my friends at My Metal Pro. They help people like you and I acquire gold and silver with a membership that lets you safely buy, sell, and store gold and silver. They make it real easy to get started. My Metal Pro isn't like the big guys you see on network TV or the big coin shops that take a huge commission. So become part of my Gold Cowboy team. Scan the QR code or go to goldcowboy.com and check it out. Giddy up. There we go. Lots of fun we get to partake. We talk about media, though. How does media affect the way businesses run? Magnetize your media. You need to pick up this book. My buddy Willie J is the writer there, and Steve Kidd, and yours truly wrote the foreword here. This is a #1 seller on Amazon, and if you want to get some information about how to use media, this is what I helped write about. So Carter essentially wrote the first chapter. But how has media changed the way we function? You talked about your essentially your business card is your website, your social media, and you've got to constantly be updating that. And how has technology changed the way? First, talk about how you decided, obviously, when you started your company, let's get a website up, let's get that going and get our social media. Why did those two components, why were those important for you?
Well, I just think it's important to be out there. Otherwise, I mean, nobody could find you in their time of need. If you're in the middle of a hailstorm and 99% of people are going on Google or whatever, and if you don't have a presence out there to find you, you can't help them put on a roof or make any repairs to begin with.
Yeah, that's where you really get to showcase what you're about and the work that you've done and what people have had to say about you.
Right.
And if you're not putting that kind of information out, how are they going to find out about you? We've helped all kinds of businesses, and we love helping everybody. But we've run into a couple of companies that at that point did not have a website, and I was just I thought that was fixed like 10 years ago.
Right.
But they still talk about that. A lot of businesses they just struggle with that, and it's, if you understand, a lot of small businesses, they're very focused on what they do, right? And for them to get into, and it's a little bit overwhelming. Why do you think you managed to do so well on your website? Just luck of the draw? You right people? Did your research?
No, very early in my career, I dealt with some of the digital marketing, et cetera. So I would say I have one leg up when it came to that. So I think that helped me. I knew the right people to contact when I needed to put everything together.
Yeah, when it comes to that's important. If you've got that kind of background and you've experienced that, yeah, getting the word out, getting some good looking content that can share with people what you're really about, that'll make a difference, because we don't know unless somebody tells us, right?
Right.
And so you get to see that information out there. It is kind of vital. How has the industry changed for you with regard to technology within your industry and your space? We talked a little bit about, is it called Eagle View? And then what are the other digital platforms out there that are required for you to do your job as a construction roofing company?
Oh, there's a million of them. We'd be here all day if we talked about that. But I mean, with Eagle View, drone technology has been huge for us, just keeping our guys safer. You know, we could do a lot of what we need to do remotely on the drones versus having to get up there. It's never going to, there's always times we have to get up there no matter what. But the least amount of ladder trips as possible, we're trying to keep them safe. So that's been a huge impact for us.
Yeah, getting up on the ladder is not the easiest, most fun thing to do. I've been on my roof a few times and just was like, I don't need to. I'll never forget, somebody came. I struggled to put the satellite on the top, on the very peak of the chimney, and then the dish guy came over and says, you could have just put it over on the side over here.
Wish I'd have known that.
This is why you have the experts that,
Right.
that have the tools to do that. But you say that these drones, they really make it a lot more effective, because now you're not crawling around up there, and drone can see and spend a lot more time. And how has drone technology really helped you?
Well, especially with the AI technology that's available right now, they could really help find the hail damage and things of that nature that are not visible to the naked eye.
Really?
So if you utilize that properly, it just helps whenever you're speaking to the insurance company, build reports and everything to build your case to help you out getting things covered.
I didn't realize that, but the AI I can identify that's hail damage versus that's not. The human eye,
Yeah, sometimes.
we're gonna
yeah.
miss that sometimes.
It's better than us sometimes, unfortunately.
Right. Well, they're talking about the way it's coming in AGI, ASI, general intelligence, and then super intelligence, I think is what those are artificial of those. But tell me the process then. By now, many people obviously look at this and say, you know what you're doing. They can trust you. Why would we know why somebody might trust you to do the work? How does somebody get started with you?
Yeah, so if you need to get a hold of us, obviously you can go through, we're on all social medias, Instagram, Facebook, our website. We have a form you could fill out to get a hold of us on any of those, or pick up the phone, call, or text. So we're pretty easy to get a hold of. We're out there. But the biggest thing when you're starting a process is, get somebody out there to inspect it. If your roof is actively leaking, make sure they're getting out there and getting a tarp on it to prevent any future damage.
Right.
Because people don't realize the insurance company actually requires you to do that. If you're not being proactive and protecting your house, that could hurt you in your claim.
I had not heard that before, but yeah, so it's your responsibility to make sure to get somebody to go out there and put that tarp up there.
Exactly.
And because if you've got water pouring into the house, I guess obviously, I mean, most people that'd be kind of common sense, but
You'd be surprised.
if you're not. Well, it wasn't dripping inside the house just yet because it was
Right. And some people
piling
just,
up in the attic.
and some people, unfortunately, with the elderly, they don't know, they're not able to get out there and see everything, or, sometimes even get upstairs. So and that's where we come into play. We can find that for them. If we're out there, we'll get everything tarped up and you're dried in while you're going through the process.
Yeah, important stuff. You would think that are kind of common sense, but hey, make sure you follow these things there, because the insurance company. Last thing we want is somebody to say, "Oh, not covered."
Right.
How often are you having to go to bat for the client to say, and maybe they're covered, but you're saying, but there's additional things that should be covered. Is that pretty typical?
Yeah, I would say that's one of the hardest items in the insurance industry right now. There's no rhyme or reason. Your neighbor, they could be covering everything. On yours, they will deny everything. And there's no rhyme or reason to the madness out there. We do our very best to basically build that case and show them all the valid evidence of actual damage. And same if there's not damage, we'll be tell you as well. It just depends on what's available.
Again, kind of a no-brainer, but so often is the case. What is the biggest question that people have? By now, you've dealt with hundreds of clients, thousands of clients. What is a normal question? What are some of the objections that they have when they're thinking about getting their roof repaired, and what do they should be concerned with? What questions do they have for you?
I think the biggest misunderstanding or question would be on the supplement process when you go through it, and that's where you're going through if the insurance company gives you this initial scope of loss, and we don't believe that's covering what damage we find. We'll go in and represent you to the insurance company to find that happy median to be able to put your house back together like it was. But the biggest thing with that is people think that's a very quick process. Unfortunately, it's not. It's not a 2-week process. It could take several months. It just depends on how large the storm is, what's going on. The claims adjusters are busy people too.
Yeah, how often is it they come flying through, and this is personal experience, and they've got everybody in the neighborhood got hit, or everybody for 2 square miles got hit or more, and they kind of overlook. I had somebody mention at one point, I had a conversation, let the roofing company find the stuff. Just get in there, give them a basic summary, an estimate, and say, and if it goes through, then they let it go through. But they need to get somebody. That's why you really need an expert out there.
Exactly.
Why is that so important? What might be missed by the normal first review that is done?
Well, there's a lot of things, even little things, what they call splatter marks on your decking and whatnot. So I'm not going to pay to replace your deck 9 times out of 10, but they'll paint and reseal to get it back looking like it was before storm condition. So little things like that you just wouldn't think of, because most people think of storm damage, they automatically look at the roof, not the entire project.
Yeah, because your whole house was affected by that. So
Right.
and if it's a matter of some of the decking got pulled up, then at least have somebody come in and put that decking back down, because
Exactly.
the last thing you need is somebody falling through the floor of your
Right.
deck, and then you've got a big lawsuit. And
Right.
You
Yeah,
got to
nobody
trace it
needs
back
that.
and go through the process
Yeah.
for that kind of coverage. What is typically overlooked on a roof? I mean, I guess it's a matter of, is it just, did it penetrate, or is it just cause some granule loss, or what are the biggest things that cause a failure of a roof shingle?
I mean, there's a million different ways. I'd say a lot of stuff that's hard to diagnose these days is with that wind damage that came through. You may not get any damage with general rain, but the next time you have a wind-driven rain, if it got any, kind of like we always say, like a Band-Aid, a dirty Band-Aid doesn't stick to your thumb anymore. Same with your roof. It gets underneath where the tar is. If it gets dirty, it's next wind, it's going to lift it up, and your house is going to be vulnerable.
I've had a lot of guests on the show talk about this. We just happen to never come across that particular example. But yeah, literally, like that tar, that stickum, if you've got right there, is designed to seal the roof.
Exactly.
Right, and if it's not sealed, then you've got drip coming through, and then all of a sudden you're replacing not just the shingles, but the
Everything below the
board,
shingle.
and then you get into the wall board and the ceiling below that inside the house. These are big problems that you don't want to let
Right.
happen. Gotcha. Well, then tell me, after doing this for so long, what gives you the most satisfaction about what you do?
I would say the most satisfaction is just being able to help people. I'm a very genuine person, and making the process easy on people, because when you go to somebody's house, they have no idea where to start, what is involved, how long it's going to take. They see the insurance reports that's 15 pages long with a million numbers on it. They have no idea. So just making the process easier. I just think roofing doesn't have to be as difficult as people make it.
Yeah, how often is it the case that just people are overwhelmed? They don't know how to deal with this. This is not what they spend their life doing, and they don't understand all of what goes into this. And boy, if you've got a big problem, then you want to make sure that there's the proper company getting it done correctly.
Right.
Awesome stuff. Well, tell me, a lot of community stuff you do. One I'm going to see yet coming up here. I'm going to scroll over on your Facebook. You've got a post about that. One of my favorite events every year. We're coming up to Thanksgiving, that time of year. Do you like to talk about guns and hoses?
Yeah, no, we're a big supporter of Guns N' Hoses. We've been sponsoring them since the very beginning. We've started doing that. I have a lot of friends who were first responders, so it just seemed like a no-brainer on our end. But we'll be down there, and it's a great event.
Yeah, it's, of all the organizations there are in St. Louis, and there's a lot of great organizations, but these guys really go out of their way to help, because boy, they're the ones that literally pulled me out of these first responders pulled me out of the car, made sure that I was functioning, and then I started having seizures there at the scene. I didn't find out till recently. My mom pulled up, and they were at the scene and then saw me go into the seizures. But they whisked me off, pulled the drunk driver that hit us out, threw me in the car, and they said, take care of our son, and then
Right.
the rest of there. But these guys really impact lives.
For sure.
All right, everybody, stay tuned for more here from the Your Little Castle show. Check us out on yourlittlecastle.com. Go to our YouTube channel and look for experts like Bob right here, Kodiak Construction. I like callkodiak.com. Great domain right there. Got a great website, lots of information. Giddy up.